Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show.
Join us as we cover many an insane movie and numerous cult TV phenomenons. Are you ready to get jacked up? Are you with us? Then listen on.
Listener discretion is advised. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. Jacked Up Review Show.
And welcome back. We got fellow film buffs and TV fanatics. We got Shelly Repko's back.
Hello.
We got Jon Mark, the Action Elite.
What's up, everybody?
Thought I'd just take us down a nostalgia tour, DeForce, and just discuss pretty much just two key cartoon and eventually live action sitcom channels we pretty much all grew up on. So, Shelly, what was your first descent into the Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon time tunnel?
Oh my god. Let's see. Born in 85, so I was roughly preschool age. So a lot of the stuff I remember is like Eureka's Castle and what is it, David the Gnome. There was this, I have no idea what it is, but there was this one with the koala bear.
Ooh.
Yeah, like that name has eluded me for so long.
Couldn't find out.
I'm just like, I don't know. Did I imagine it? Was it a fever dream?
I'm not familiar with that one, to be honest.
Adventures of the Little Koala on Nickelodeon.
I don't know. It was like,
88 to 93.
oh, is that what it was?
Okay. Has to be, I guess. I mean,
Mm.
it's in an aardvark. That was PBS.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess you could say I was there essentially from the
I
beginning.
was there.
I was there. 3,000 years. No, it just feels like
Oh, John, when did you decide to flip on the boob tube and decide you were going to watch some cartoons before doing chores or homework or playing around the field?
Well, for me, it was actually three shows that I grew up on, especially on that network, which was Johnny Bravo,
Oh, yeah.
Dexter's Laboratory. Yes, I did grow up with that. And Space Goes Coast to Coast.
Oh, there you go. Yes.
Yeah.
Those are my three shows. Especially since my brother introduced me to Space Ghost at that
Oh,
time.
yeah. It was like one of the few shows you could watch on Adult Swim without being afraid you might be watching something a little too crude or
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was home movies too, and it's like, yeah, I don't know what this is.
Oh god, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Was that made in the same squiggle vision as Dr. Katz?
It's a good question.
Hmm.
Dr. Katz, man.
That was another one, but that was Comedy Central.
I mean, I always got him mixed up with The Critic and all those other
That's true.
cartoons.
Yeah, the critic's good too, actually.
Oh, man. When did you kind of... So, yeah, I would have been probably 7 or so. So, yeah, 97, you did the math. But it was kind of interesting how these were all evolved. Everyone else who was growing up on them had either already grown up on them in the 80s, mainly Nickelodeon. Cartoon Network was, like, later. But it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's like pretty much... Everyone even also kind of forgets when Disney and Nickelodeon would even just take other movies that were
Yeah.
family friendly from other companies, and I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
unheard of nowadays. It's like everything has to be in the vault.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty
Oh.
much it.
But yeah, I was. It's kind of wild how. It for a while it kind of made me. I had to remind myself. It's like no, Hanna-Barbera got bought by like Warner Brothers or whatever. You
Yeah.
know, they were their
Yeah.
own entity at first, and now it's like this is secondary nature. It's like they would always produce some new Scooby-Doo cartoon or just have ads for the other sister channel Boomerang, which a lot of people would just get. I noticed they just started getting cable TV extensions just so they could have just something other than the Cartoon Network originals and have the actual just like
Yeah.
Flintstones and Jetsons library.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? I think. No, that's not it. Dang it. I'm now searching for that koala one.
Sure, it's not that one.
No, I just saw one that was Quickie Koala, but that was Hanna-Barbera.
Was it animated in another country like Kimba the Lion, or was it something?
I think. Like, it had like an 80s kind of anime feel to it, now that I think about it.
Okay, well, shoot.
Let's see if we can find that.
Let's see, 80s. Yeah, Adventures of the Little Koala. Let's see. Is that you?
Scooby-Doo, who are you? So Shelly, I take it. So you're a family gal.
Yeah.
How many of these cartoons that you grew up with have you already started introducing?
Oh God. Honestly, most of them. Most of them I have. Some that I used to love after learning stuff, I cannot in good conscience share with my son because either the content is either not as wholesome or as, appropriate as I thought it was, or just learning stuff about who made it just is like, no, not doing
Yeah,
that.
there was one person, I forgot their name, who was like attached to like I think a Nickelodeon cartoon, and they had to silently like fire him. So
Yep.
okay, so you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
all know the same one.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's heard the story, so it's like,
Oh, yeah.
it is kind of funny how it's just like, hey, nothing personal, but like I would even kind of. My sister basically considered me a control freak at times because sometimes I'd be like, ooh, there's a lot of bullying going on in that cartoon or fart jokes. I think we should not watch this.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah,
last thing
there
you want to
too.
do is watch it and then be told you can't watch it. So it's like, yeah.
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 Oh man. So it is kind of wild how they kind of just do. Well, speaking of age, do you feel like kind of Cartoon Network kind of just started just kind of coasting on just being random, and Nickelodeon kind of just started just going into kind of more just like Team Nickville and producing anime?
I think
Like
so.
a little bit. That's a plot television series about koalas. Why not?
Why not?
Like I said,
Yes.
Wikipedia spiral.
Been really neat, right? Yeah. It is wild how they were they were sold to Viacom, but not right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
It's like I
forgot
always
about
could have
that.
sworn they were Paramountville. It's kind of interesting what their programming is now. I have not even watched Nickelodeon for years now, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Same
So now
here.
you're
Yeah,
seeing-
I haven't seen Nickelodeon in years. Been watching a little bit of Cartoon Network.
right. Yeah, it's
Every
like
now and then.
because Cartoon always had the Adult Swim block, or just would play just some better known cartoon movies and just against some of the classics in with the new stuff. And do they still do the Tom and Jerry block? It seems like that's how they start the day. Like it's 6 to 7.
Oh, when I had Cartoon Network, I never got up that early if I could. But
Some
I don't know.
weekends it seems like they would have it on till like noon, and I mean that just like for out. Like one time in like '07, then in another time like in 2014, I saw one. I was like, wow, is this an all-day marathon shift I don't know about? So it seemed like their schedules could be a little more random than some of the other cable networks like TNT or USA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I remember when they had that. I think it was on Saturdays. They had just that giant, like 3 or 4 hour chunk of a specific cartoon.
Oh, totally. It
Oh
was
my
like
God.
3 hours won't do it, then what
Yes,
will?
I loved that because the one time they played the Beetlejuice cartoon, I loved that one.
Oh,
Bought it on
really?
DVD, so yes, I bought it on DVD so I could watch it.
Well, wasn't that more? I thought Beetlejuice was more Nickelodeon.
I think it was on both actually.
Oh, well, so there you go. It's syndicated.
Yeah.
Different deals. I just got a little annoyed though how Cartoon Theater would just take way longer with all the extra ads.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
bother me sometimes too.
And half the well, and definitely quality, because yeah, it's like it'd be interesting how they'd have stuff that was in the Warner Brothers vault, like some of the Animaniacs movies, and
Oh, yeah.
then
Oh yeah.
but then it got even more convoluted because then it would be one of Universal's Land Before Time sequels or something else owned by the Fox Vault. I was like, okay, well, this is taking way longer. And there's even a few other archive cartoons that even Disney and Nickelodeon would both show, and I can't for the life of me figure out what they are. I have not come across them, and my sister and I are still trying to this day to figure out what was that cartoon. Oh, God. I'm sure if you even ask the programmers, they've either died or they don't even know. Yeah, or they're old. Do you guys ever look at your old VHS tapes?
Oh God.
No, I don't have them anymore. So
Technically, no. They're all over at my parents'.
I wish I still had them, but I don't.
There's a few I have. I just can't play them now, which makes me a little sad. But
Yeah.
thank God for the internet.
Right.
Just find them again.
Have you ever been tempted to convert your tapes? It's like, one of these summers, I'm just going to convert everything up.
Incredibly tempted.
Yeah.
Actually, I try to find it on DVD first. If I can buy it, awesome. If not, like the one thing, because I had a Christmas tape. Yes, I had a Christmas tape that I would watch every time around Christmas or whenever I got sick as a kid, and it had a whole bunch of Christmas specials. It had I think it was like a lot of Nickelodeon stuff too, like Eureka's Castle. There was Garfield one. There was the Peanuts one, obviously. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and it was that was made when I was very young. I was 4, so I'm in my 30s now. That tape ain't working anymore.
Yeah, no.
It's no.
Play the hell out of that tape. It's gonna break.
Oh yeah.
Or get recorded over and then tossed away. But yeah, it was kind of funny how I went to a good. There was one weekend where I had a lot of time to kill before I had to like drive and like hang out with a bunch of buddies. And I kid you not, I went to literally every Goodwill I had not been to in that area, and I found is like, okay, they're all different, but one thing they all have in common at this one particular one is that everybody pretty much just gives away videotapes and they don't even think twice about breaking any copyright laws. And I was like, wow, someone even titled these like 97 like NBA special. Yeah, there's definitely has to be some Cartoon Network stuff on there somewhere. And I think that's even probably how some of these guys who find promos for certain movies and shows, like where they have nostalgia related to a certain topic, I'm sure that's what they ended up doing. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna just go and just hunt down every, TV programmer I know, every videotape at some random auction, and just see if it's got some goodies on it that I can upload. It's like, man, if you got that time, go for it.
Yeah.
That can't be easy because you gotta convert VHS to DVD or whatever, and then find a way to upload it digitally. So.
Yeah.
Rip it from the thing.
Oh man. Take days to do that.
Oh, maybe even a year. Who knows?
Yeah, true.
How do people even rip something from like a DVR? digital video recorder?
I don't know.
That I never figured out because it seemed you could tell it was because you'd see like a TiVo logo or a Spectrum.
Oh yeah.
It was like, man, someone they're on it. And well, this is slightly related. I noticed like Disney Channel would even play like some of those Don Bluth cartoons, and I think even Cartoon Network kind of followed suit. They would just play a bunch of other just specific ones. I'm like, wait, who owns this cartoon?
Oh yeah.
It's like whatever you're licensed to play. And it was kind of funny how much like the Universal programs would play stuff instantly on like instant repeat the following day on Dable. But as like anything on Kids WB would probably be played, on the Cartoon Network block about 5 years from that point. And for a while, it actually took me a while to realize some of those DC cartoon adaptations like Static Shock and even Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries were just like instant repeats, and some of them were even continued like 3 more years or something on Cartoon Network. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah, I never would have thought. I thought it was always on one, and then the other channel replayed it. Is like, yeah, no. Some of them were doing the whole is like we still we want to keep the contract active, but it's just going to a sister channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Who are your cartoon icons, do you guys think? Like just the programmers, the producers, and creators behind some of those that you just associated with? I know they're still trying to do a movie on animator Chuck Jones. I'm like, well, that's
Yeah.
development hell for like 3 decades. So
If that ever happens.
if that happens, cast someone really good.
I don't know a whole lot about like the animators, but I do know a bit about like the voice actors.
Oh,
So I
nice.
guess, yeah. So like Mel Blanc, Tress McNeil, Rob
Oh,
Paulson, who I actually met. He's
Oh,
really
wow.
nice. He's really
I
nice.
bet.
Yes, I actually
June
drew 2 of his
Foray,
characters,
miss
and
her.
he actually knew both of them because the one was obviously Yakko, and the other was a character named Mort from a game called Planescape Torment, which I played so much as a teenager.
A ton.
And it was just that he remembered more. I was just like, because just the snarkiness was just the
Right.
backdrop in both my kind.
I miss that too. When computer games were just like there'd be all sorts of different ones that were either original or part educational mixed in with like original content.
Oh
And
yeah.
it was always just so surreal. It was like
The 90s and early aughts were just the best time for computer games, I swear. I mean, I'm sure other games too, but I had a computer, so that's the stuff I know.
yeah, totally. And June Foray, we miss her.
Oh, that's true.
Well, and I know it is kind of wild how so many people are just now learning about Jenny Tartakovsky. I'm like, really? I mean, I met a few who were that way. I'm like, I mean, he's behind just about every other thing on CN Network.
I know. I didn't realize that was him when I watched Hotel Transylvania, and I realized this looks kind of like Dexter's Laboratory, and I realized it's from the creator of Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah, he was in
I'm like,
that. I think he supervised Powerpuff Girls. He was associated with them, definitely. And then, then you go into Samurai Jack and the original Star Wars Clone Wars, and now he's doing Hotel Transylvania. I'm like, he needs to go to the next level of CGI. But it's so wild because I remember seeing a blurb back in like 08 or something of him talking about pushing the limits of CGI animation. I'm like, oh yeah, he's slowly shining. He knows how this business is run. It is kind of wild though too. Like some of the cartoons you guys were talking about, other people got their start on there. Like Seth MacFarlane got his start on Johnny Bravo. I'm like, that makes sense.
It really does.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It is kind of wild how some cartoons got resurrected just because Adult Swim would just replay them, and it's like Family Guy was dead in the water, and then they resurrected it because someone saw what attention it was getting. I'm like, It could not be done now. Now it's like you either buy us, or or we stop airing you, and you
Yeah.
can't have us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one I always remember was Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Oh yeah,
That was-
Courage.
That is definitely one of my favorites. I think that's what got me into just so many
Oh,
other
yeah.
nutty things, because it was
Oh yeah.
just,
It's
it was like I kept
Cowardly
looking
Dog with his humor
for.
also.
And nowadays, I would look and see if the executive producer is Joe Dante or Sam Raimi.
No.
Wait, what? They did those?
No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Because it did always. I think that's why I was easily just laid back and ready to get into something like Gremlins or
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause-
Master.
okay. Yeah. So it's because I remember watching a lot of different stuff, like the movies like Labyrinth and Beetlejuice. At
Oh,
like
there you
when they
go.
came out.
Jim Henson's a good segue. Yeah, they could
Ex-
totally experiment with. I mean, even just watching Fraggle Rock reruns
Oh my
is
God,
like,
yeah.
wow.
Oh yeah.
Was that re-aired on Disney or Nickelodeon? I could never remember, but It's-
Fraggle
it-
Rock?
I mean,
I want to say Nickelodeon.
I think it was Nickelodeon.
that makes better sense. So yeah, it's like, and because everyone forgot, it's like, I just find it so funny now how HBO is now airing Sesame Street, because it's like, yeah, for years they were airing Jim Henson's Fraggle Rock. It seems like every channel, it did kind of make you wonder who were the main programmers and why did they change what they changed,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so which quotes do you guys think that you kind of repeat the most, just like inexplicably, and someone just starts guffawing because they're like, I see what you're referencing there.
It's got to be either Bugs Bunny or just from Animaniacs.
Oh, there you go.
Just it's
Go.
just the two main ones. Two main.
Yeah, I've also quoted Bugs Bunny so many times.
Oh
and
yeah.
Some people, I still remember as a kid, some people didn't realize it was Bugs Bunny at that time.
Oh wow.
Like, seriously?
Really? Yeah. I feel sorry for those guys. But it is kind of wild though too how like sometimes they would they would start having just so many bumpers where it's just like part of the every Friday was like, oh, it's a cartoon Friday. Everyone's like, all these cartoons that you're watching are talking to each other, so there's a mock talk show in between all of these. So I think if anything, this got us prepared for all these other just various topics. They would do mock award shows and everything. It's like, jeez. Sometimes they re-edit various Flintstones and Looney Tunes cartoons and just make it look like some special. I know they did that.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Bugs versus Daffy, and it's like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Either way, one of them wins one day, and then the other wins the other day based on mock votes.
Yeah.
But so I never really got into Ben 10, but I know others is like that was their like 2.0 of Cartoon Network in terms of like the original, like going a big step into like new content. Because
Yeah.
after all, it did seem like there was some other ones that were some of them were trying to be a little more mean spirited than like Billy and Mandy, and then there was like some other ones where it's like, I don't know what that is, but it's very simplified. I think Foster's Home is kind of where I fell off the bandwagon there. Is like, yeah, I'm going to just stick with Adult Swim for now.
Yeah, same thing with me. Once that happened, like, yeah, I'm done with this. I'm sorry. I just stick to Adult Swim.
It's either getting too dumb or it's getting too mean-spirited, and it's like,
Yeah.
Nickelodeon would sneak in some other ones, though, too, and I'm like, wow, is that guy basically a walking blob of crap or whatever, or something, They really just have that kind of loosey-goosey reference. I don't know if that was by the one producer that got fired or silently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little too out there, guys.
Yeah.
What's your kind of views on like Nickelodeon in general? It seemed like for a while they were kind of trying to have everything, be Amanda Bynes like mock show or all that, which was basically
Yeah.
Saturday Night Kids, and then it's like
It
I
was
kind of lost
Saturday
track.
Night Live with kids, wasn't it? It really was.
It was.
Like,
That is
and
a
then
really good.
watch their mock award show and see who gets slimed this year.
Oh, what
Yep.
the Kids' Choice Awards.
It seemed like those kind of got a little more questionable after a while. I know sometimes my folks would be like, they're honoring those people at this cartoon, like on this kid-friendly show. I'm like, yeah, every other teen or somebody got honored this year, so PG-13, it's fair game. But sometimes they'd even go a step further. I think Lawrence Fishburne won one because Matrix was popular, and
Okay, yeah, I could see that.
Okay.
I'm sure Sarah Michelle Gellar got someone for Buffy or Scream, but yeah, it's just like people were more. It was like, hey, if you got permission, you can watch it, even if you shouldn't
Right on.
technically be. It's like, oh, I avoided most crud, but there was I still heard about it one way or the other because I was reading TV Guide or even get those Nickelodeon magazines. So.
Oh, I remember those.
I remember those too,
Dog
actually.
Zelda.
Yep. And I mean, they would interview all kinds of people, even just people who were just on MTV or Comedy Central in some capacity. I was like, interesting. So here's an interview with Jon Stewart and Dave Chappelle. And now here's an interview with some other shock jock or guy who hosts MTV currently.
Yeah.
It is kind of funny. I knew other people who knew so many other people who did the music video hosting block, and was like, I know I saw Anthony Anderson around the 2000s era, but it was so funny how some people knew other people just because of that, like Carrie Wuhar, and like who's a B movie actress. I'm like, jeez.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, after a while, I guess it all kind of just ran together, and then it just got even more interesting. How do you guys even remember TV Guide Network? How it's like they would.
Yes.
That was how I kept track of what was playing for the coming hour.
Yep.
And I'm like,
Same here.
okay, what's on? And of course, the channel you want to watch just went up, and it's like, seriously.
Right.
Gotta wait like another
Can't watch
minute or two.
both.
Like, as now it's like, oh, a minute or two. But as a kid, it's forever.
Forever. Yeah, everything feels like the world. Yeah. And
yeah.
I know my father was able to make it somehow to where it's like he had two TVs, like, and he could somehow get the living room TV to somehow display in like in a bottom right hand corner, and I thought it was so cool because it was kind of like what you were seeing at the various ESPN things. For years we had bootleg cable. I'm just putting that out there right now. So plenty of other shit I wasn't supposed to watch, but it was so funny how you pretty much got a whole gist of how everything was going, and then everyone's kind of just with those early 90s or early 2000s, it was kind of just so funny how it's like by like 03, 04, everyone is just changing gears now, seeing less of the obscure movies and more of the like whatever's hot now. Oh, that's what we got to play. USA Network is now comedy and Mysteryville, and what? Yeah, no longer cheesy Movieville. And then Sci-Fi Channel is Sci-Fi Fridays, and it's like that was even harder too. So it's like, okay, now that I'm growing out of cartoons, do I now just go in the next room where my parents are watching, Stargate or Eureka or Battlestar, or do I?
To be fair, those are good shows too.
Oh yeah,
Sci-Fi is awesome. Yeah.
And sometimes it was even funnier because I would see someone who was kind of a voice actor and is like, oh yeah, isn't that a Simpsons actor? Isn't that a Cartoon Network? And,
yeah.
You were mentioning voice actors earlier. Were you familiar with Tom Kenny?
I am. Yep.
He was always in my life in some capacity because he was always just credited with doing. I know I played a video game and I saw he was like one of the voices at the end of one. I think it was Star Wars Rogue Squadron 3. That had to be the one. And it was even funnier because it was kind of a given. We were like, why does that sound like Rocco or SpongeBob? I was like, because that is Rocco / SpongeBob. But it was even funnier though too because I saw a Vimeo interview and he was just like, yeah, I've done all kinds of cartoons and I don't have to worry about being blacklisted, whether or not they're inappropriate or anything. It's all luck of the draw. Do you guys ever light up when you see an actor making like a rare, like who's primarily does voiceovers, making a rare live action appearance?
Yes.
It's kind of that
Yes.
way with
Yes,
Maggio.
absolutely.
He recently appeared on Mythic Quest, and I was like, haha.
Or I usually like sometimes when voice actors sometimes go on screen, like this is off topic, but like the Crypt Keeper, like John Castillo, whenever I see him pop up sometimes on screen.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So I'm looking at all these different, shows, and I'm realizing just how much of my early childhood up to teenage years was Nickelodeon, and then after that it was Cartoon Network, which is just kind of fun. It's like just this transition of like, oh yeah, all this wholesome stuff, and then goofy, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
It made you wonder. They could have totally. You see all these channels that are like owned by each other. Like now I'm seeing the channels I mentioned. Now they'll air something like. Now I'm seeing what they do now is like they'll air everything simultaneously, so they share the ratings with each other.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like History Channel does that with Lifetime. Yes, they're owned by the same division of Disney. Oh,
Jesus.
craziness.
What isn't owned by Disney?
Right. What did I'm surprised Disney has not tried to own Paramount at some point. It's like they'll just split the bill on Iron Man for now. But yeah, I mean it totally makes sense because if Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network had done a cool kind of like Battle of the Network Stars equivalent for the 90s and 2000s,
Yeah.
man, would that have been a total
Oh, yeah.
big get together. Someone would have
That-
videotaped
Oh,
that.
definitely.
Oh yeah.
I'll see even talk about certain special, like I definitely saw the Muppet Christmas special on Nickelodeon at one point. It was like an old like 91 recording or something that just kept getting passed around every once in a while whenever we had in the car to watch. Because yeah, we had a TV in our car when we would go on various travels and everything, so that made time go by fast. I can only imagine my folks getting sick of certain ones and laughing at other ones for the billionth time.
Yeah.
Let alone what movie had just been rented from Blockbuster and which one had terrible tracking.
Yeah. Like, why don't the words sync up with the mouth? What?
That's happened to me. I remember that clearly, especially at Blockbuster.
Oh yeah, and everyone does not seem to realize how good they have it now. Is like Redbox, the whole beauty. Part of why I caught onto it briefly there was just how almost anyone could distribute a movie there. So you didn't have to make a marketing deal with Blockbuster or whatever or Family Video.
Yeah.
Now it's like, but then it got even more just wild how you could return it anywhere. The disc, the Blu-ray,
Yep.
the video game, and it will
Wow.
take it. It will log it into the
Yep.
system. It's one Skynet type Apple cloud
That's exactly it.
supercomputer, and it's like you didn't have that at Blockbuster. It's like you could return it and they'd be like, thanks, but it still counts as a late fee because this isn't the right place.
Yeah.
Yep.
God. And then
That's
the
how it was.
streaming.
Streaming, yeah.
Oh my God.
Streaming. I forget who it is now, but it's like there was someone on the Dolph Lundgren podcast who a few years back who talked about how they got the ugly eye when they said, yeah, I got it on physical media, and the other person who was so used to streaming was like, yeah, no, I don't need that. It's like some of us like a physical copy versus the digital copy. It depends,
Like,
That's how
to
I am,
watch,
pretty much.
to check it out, yeah, absolutely digital. But if it's something I love, I would probably also want a physical copy, which is what
Maybe
I've done.
you want it anywhere. What if the
Like,
world goes to
if
hell?
there was a guarantee it would stay on the streaming, like, indefinitely, yeah, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah,
But if
they really did.
if there's a chance that it, gets taken off, I'm like, I gotta get the DVD. I've done that with a lot of different stuff.
Oh, too much. And Prime has gotten better, and Hulu has gotten way, way better. It's like,
Hulu has, wow,
what a
just
change.
a lot of
'Cause for a
stuff.
while, yeah, they were just doing such limited contracts and just removing it the next week. I'm like, I need 3 more
Yeah.
weeks.
Like, wait, I can't watch it all in one
It's like,
day.
now I think they figured out, especially now that Fox owns Disney, is like, okay, all the main Fox stuff that isn't Disney approved, it has to remain on here. It has to.
Yeah.
If you want
Mhm.
if you want to increase your audience, otherwise you're just gonna lose consumers and interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and I mean, I like to not look over my shoulder and just be like, oh shit, did it get removed?
Yeah.
That's what I hate the most is when they remove it, especially it's the day when I watch it, and nope, not gonna happen. I'm talking about you, Netflix, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still like
Oh yeah.
Cameron knows what I'm talking about, so.
Oh boy.
Mm.
If you could, if there's anything that they haven't released on home media, speaking of that, what do you think is long overdue? Like, you think is just bound to have just like a Shout Factory release?
Let's see.
Hmm. Let's see.
Honestly, well, let me see if they actually have one.
Seemed like for a while is like you see it, you see a lot of these releases, but by
Well,
the
I
time
think
it's come out, like the audience has kind of faded a bit. Like
Yeah.
when I was with Steve Vizzy of everything I learned from movies, just talking to him, I surprised them because they had these old TBS tapes of Captain Power. And they're like, wait, you got a DVD release? I'm like, yeah, like 5 years ago. I'm like,
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, that would have been great years ago. And
But I,
it didn't help that video rental stores, like, if you wanted to buy the collection since it was made to rent, not to buy, it was like, yeah, you can pay $500
yeah.
or $50 and
I mean,
90
$50
cents.
is slightly better.
Oh yeah, way better, but it is kind of wild. And some of those Republic Pictures VHSs I get is like, it, some of them have just for promotional use only. Is like, yeah, these were meant to be played in video stores before they started getting more picky. Is like, make sure whatever movie's playing is PG at least.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I miss those display screens you walk right on in.
I miss those too, to be honest.
There's actually one independent video store right by me that I always wanted to work at, and I don't know if he just didn't want to pay anyone or he just thought it was a rough part of town, so he just didn't want to mess with it. But it had some cool rental plans and buying plans. I'm like, yeah, but he had a huge library, and I was like, I wonder how many of these other stores are out there, because it seems like you got to just drive into the middle of the country and you get just either just a random mop and pop store or just a porn theater. And it's like, yeah, how about there be an actual, like, just more frequent, like, someone leases out some DVD stores. And I get that it's not for everyone because you got to lease all these contracts and so forth. But it's like, I know some people still clamor to that stuff who would love to do nothing more than to do something like that.
Yeah.
Oh. And it is kind of wild how I don't know how much of the stuff that they didn't license, like, so many people just wanted to just kind of do the best of compilations. Is like, yeah, but most of us, we want to see all of the whole seasons and everything. Just seeing 2 episodes edited together just isn't enough.
Yeah, that's happened to me with one certain show that I still watch that I've told you about many times.
Oh, which one?
With SNL.
Oh yeah,
They have-
SNL definitely
like-
shot themselves in the foot on that. Is like, they could have, and it didn't help that they didn't have enough copies of certain titles. So it's like, okay, you want to watch season 1, disc 2? Well,
It's like they released the first 5 seasons and then because of music rights. They say they haven't released the rest of them since then.
There's music rights, but then it gets even more kooky with how like they just kind of kept missing their window.
And it sucks because I love to see all those, but unfortunately, they wouldn't release them for some reason. Hopefully one day they can do that. Shell Factory, please.
Right. But it really did get old pretty fast with how like certain discs were just never going to be returned to the store. So it's like
No.
really tired of being told it's out of out of print. It's out of the office, unavailable.
Oh,
And
that
the rest
happened to
of
me
it
a
is
bunch.
just and the rest of it is other titles that you would hate to leave the store with without facing embarrassment. It was like, no, that's what I have cable for, so I can record it and fast forward for it.
Yeah.
Aye, aye, aye. Are you? I'm kind of surprised there hasn't been like some new cartoon kind of channel that hasn't launched yet. It seems like there's a lot of spin-offs that are trying to do something different than like ABC Family and have some original and family-friendly content that
Yeah.
everyone can watch. But what is it? Up Channel? That's been an interesting one because like they've had some original content and then some syndicated programs that just about every age group grew up with and kind of likes, and then Whose Line reruns. I'm like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
Some original sitcoms mixed in with some classic sitcoms, and then just some other stuff. I'm like, that's interesting. Chiller was kind of what Sci-Fi Channel used to be, and is like, I was so mad when they did away with that because I'm like, yeah, but they're playing all kinds of stuff that they don't play anymore. They should.
That's true.
And so I wonder if Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network will try to do that, because I mean, cartoons already kind of. There was one portion of my final years of college where I watched a bunch of Boomerang because they were playing all the newer Scooby-Doo animated movies, and I was like, I'm in. That's kind of what I want to watch. I don't want to watch all this other stuff. So I'm like, yeah, it's definitely interesting seeing the options that are out there and how, again, you still got the predicament, like I said earlier with Shelly, is like some of us are having to give up cable and others are just like, well, there's some good stuff, and then there's others like, yeah, I'm kind of a step away from, maybe I could go a year without this.
Yeah.
It's just my issue is there's always at least like 2 different live events I want to see, or just something that got taken off streaming but is always on TV and I want to watch it that particular month. So I don't know who does the licensing fees versus who's looking at the numbers saying we don't need it here this week. Oh. Do you think there might be even more original puppet shows or whatever, or Jim Henson Dills?
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest.
I don't know.
Seems like they experimented a bit with. They're doing the Disney Plus numbers right now, but
Yeah.
It's even more concerning, like who watches kind of some of the main network TV shows, because it seems like most of the numbers are just coming in from shows that have been on for years. Versus the sketch shows. But it'd be interesting to see like who do a poll and see like what are the new shows that are on the cartoon channels that no one ever misses an episode of, like everyone instantly tunes in that week. I would even see some people who clearly were watching so much Adult Swim, like they would come to class like just fully baked, or just their head was just not in the oyster. They could not keep their head up. Oh, some people just, they can't control themselves.
No, they can't.
Does anyone remember how interactive the online sites used to be back in the wake of that?
God, yeah.
People were giving up dial-up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
It is a even more surreal thing. It's like, it's showing on the internet. So it was kind of interesting how people would kind of embrace that. NBC definitely did a lot of that. Is like, here's some extra SNL shorts. Here's some other stuff that you can only see on, like, to keep you glued in before the new episode hits next week. It's like, yeah, how does anyone get anything? How did anyone get anything done back then versus now?
That's
Taste
true.
it.
Multitasking.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Um. So, have they announced any? Either channel announced any newer shows that are coming out?
I haven't really been following either one of them, so I have no idea.
'Cause sometimes
Keep
they
in.
will. I only keep up with it if I see like some of them got announced for like a Hollywood Reporter thing. But yeah, it seems like the traffic has kind of died down. I guess you would have to read a TV guide if you wanted to be up to date on something like that, because it is TV guide after all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like the only way to find any news regarding those two networks.
Was it Cartoon or Nickelodeon that did the cartoon version of Mad TV?
Cartoon Network, I
Cartoon
think.
Network,
There
yeah.
you go. That was an interesting.
That was
Base.
interesting, to say the least.
It was like, because they would kind of do just kind of is like, we're gonna have like free new things starring either a star of the channel or in either voice or live action form, and then we're gonna have like some continuation of some other thing in cartoon form, and then
hmm
it's like there's gonna be like some other kind of like maybe a mock kind of hosting variety show. It is kind of
Yeah.
interesting to see how there's that for kids. Is like they don't have to tell, oh, Jay Leno or Conan said something off color for tonight, And it was kind of interesting how most of the variety shows everyone would just let them watch, or they wouldn't let them watch because it was too late. But it was like most of them you could watch, and it's like every once in a while it's like they might interview a guest who was rude or do a sketch that was a little off-putting. So it's like it's interesting to see how they would kind of make that an option. It's like, okay, there's this other wacky live action sitcom show, but I think Nickelodeon did better sitcoms because Disney
Yeah.
fell down pretty quick by using the exact same laugh track, and it's like, this
Oh,
makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't know. I always felt like the parents in those family-oriented sitcoms got way better things to do, because like Disney is like, okay, so the fathers are sorry a lot. They're all idiots, and the mom is just
Yep.
and getting in the way and making everyone want to do all these bad things to begin with. Is like, can it just be them playing hooky at school? Why's it got to be the family? Ugh,
Because it's not interesting enough, apparently.
I guess
Yeah.
not.
the excuse.
Skateboarding after school, not interesting enough. Gaining powers and winning an NBA game, not interesting. What's funny is cartoon theater. I watched Space Jam so many times. I'm surprised I never wore out my videotape. And I was always expecting it to play on cartoon theater, and it's like, nope, never played on there.
It's
Played
funny, I
plenty of
never
times on VH1, but it probably still does on rare occasions, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
The music.
Yeah, that's
Especially with the new one coming out. I think they will
oh yeah.
overplay that
Oh,
now.
totally. Now there is a new Looney Tunes cartoon, which is wild because I know there was like a newer one like a decade before that, or half a decade at least. And
Yeah.
so it's like you can watch both of those on the HBO Max platform, but at the same time, like I'm trying to remember which one I saw where it's like I definitely saw some of their newer cartoon specials, and that was one of those where it's like, okay, I like how these new voice actors are doing. Billy West does just as good a job, in my opinion, as Mel Blanc and some of those other guys. But then there were other ones just like, yeah, but the cartoon stuff, like, or the drawing or the humor of that particular installment wasn't too hip, no matter the age group. So it was like, I did kind of have a brief avoiding phase, kind of like I did with those new live action Muppet movies at first, where I'm like, I'm not caring what you guys are doing with the license. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with some of the other ones. I know a lot of people did not like that new Scooby-Doo cartoon movie they did. I'm like, well, in all fairness, I mean, that was just one of many they did. They're still doing the straight to DVD ones that
That's
are
true.
regular 2D computer animation. So I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I was unfazed by that one. So many other people acted like that was the worst thing ever. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure I would have liked it as a kid. It just it didn't feel like it stretched far enough. So it is kind of hard to be a critic on cartoons and then be like, well, like, is it because I'm not the age range anymore? Is it because it just didn't have much of a plot?
Yeah, sometimes you can feel that way. That's happened to me quite a few times with some cartoons.
No, totally. So, anyone who wants to plug anything that they're doing from this point on, Shelly, what are you up to? If there's
No, I don't.
have any online profiles?
I try to do some gaming videos on YouTube, but still trying to get the hang of it.
On Twitch and whatever. Nice. Seems like Steam has a really big following still, so that's pretty cool. What's the other platform? It seems like Scener is another one, which is kind of like Just Watch or something. Everyone's having profiles on there where they're hosting watching events, but it's always hard to make a watch party because you got different time zones.
Yeah.
And I just got interrupted by a random Facebook update. It's like I posted that on my timeline. Oh my god, how? Stop posting it from my phone and just do it on the computer. Yeah, hopefully there's some of these other with Pluto and Plex kind of being bootleg kind of cable, where Plex you can upload whatever and it's on there, it's in the cloud, and Pluto's just kind of has stuff just scheduled that plays regularly, or you can freeze frame it and come back to it later. It hasn't changed. This is like, it'd be interesting to see what happens from this point on if people start making another digital outlet that plays just archive stuff they've uploaded. Videotape. John, if you want anything to promote, you're always reviewing something.
Yeah, I'm still planning on reviewing Nomads sometime this month.
Yeah, John is always revisiting some old archive stuff and just post it on the Movie or Action Elite.
Now I'm trying to get to that one. Some of the Hellraiser films I've been wanting to be watched for a while now, so that should be interesting. See if they hold up or not.
Oh, totally.
That's the plan so far.
Neat. Seems like Paramount Plus, I've noticed, hosts. I mean, that's basically it. It's like, if anything, if you don't have Nickelodeon, that's where you got to go. You got to have the Paramount Plus app installed. It's not all going to be on Netflix, so.
Yeah.
And who wants to be the person who watches A Christmas Prince 500 times a year? Oh. I'm still trying to figure out where that tally came from. Because I think I figured it out. It's like a lot of people still kind of do what we used to do, where they just would have a party, and then all the kids of both the visiting guests would just go in the back and just watch something, and there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So if it's all digital now, it's like, yeah, it makes sense. There's like a TV in like 3 different rooms, and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
if it's not working, then that's the only time there's something bad happening. So I'm concerned about the people who's like, that's all they know, is like they're not playing on a game or doing something fun together. Like it used to be like we would kind of do that. Like someone would have a Game Boy out, and then me and someone else would have a computer game out, and we'd be doing that, and then everyone else is just in front watching the TV channels.
Nope.
So and then occasionally interacting with each other and watching what they're doing and playing what they're doing. So I hope there's still some civil circles like that, and it's not just everyone's head is in their phone worried about how fat they look like on Instagram and
Yeah.
God.
right. Yeah, I hope there's some less toxic circles where it's not, oh my god, someone disliked my post on Facebook for a stupid comment I made.
We still get dads, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Well, Shelly, thank you for joining us here, and John, thank you.
Thanks for having
Always
me.
glad to be here.
Fun, laid-back chat.
Yeah.
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, feeling down? Feeling low? Not enough podcasts about movies in your life? Why not try
They must be destroyed on sight.
the new Podcast Cure-All? Sure to get you right with the world and on a path to better living. We have exploitation, we have Italian horror, we have zombies, we have slashers, we have crime films, we have spaghetti westerns, we even have sci-fi and sex comedies. So take a dose of
They must be destroyed on sight.
as needed, and let the hosts, Lee Russell, Daniel Harper, Paul Romali, and the odd guest host cure what ails you.
Warning, may cause atrophy, African consumption, black fever, bone shave, chin cough, colic, cramp colic, dropsy of the brain, elephantitis, grocer's itch, jaundice, mania, miasma, mortification, palsy, Pott's disease, rheumatism, scurvy, St. Anthony's fire, summer complaint, and worm fit in some people. Consult a physician before listening.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of it.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. Watching this film again, I had all of this like little nerd glee with everything that kept
Little
popping up.
history all popping up
Absolutely.
at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped from watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was
How
going to be
did
a
you
rough
watch
one.
this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
Hey everybody, I'm Corey.
And I'm Zach, and we're the hosts of Podcasting After Dark, a cast dedicated to late-night horror and sci-fi of the 80s and 90s, often found on HBO and Cinemax.
You know, the movies your parents didn't want you watching as a kid. You can find us every other week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and Stitcher.
This is what you want.
This is what you get.
It's time, let's check our queue, baby. Pair it with a couple brews, baby. We love good movies. We love the bad ones too. So we watch them all and pass their lessons on to you. Oh yeah. Everything I learned from movies helps to make life a little bit groovy. With a one-last plot holes of gratuitous movies. It's time to get busy with your friend Steve and Izzy at eilfm.podbean.com.
Welcome to Who Was She podcast. I am your host, Tara Jabari. After a decade working in documentaries, marketing, and all things digital media, I found that podcasting is a strong medium to share stories. After years of producing for others, I decided to start my own biographical podcast. Who Was She will focus on the life of a woman throughout Baha'i history. The first season is about Lydia Zemenov. Lydia's story explores the subjects of the power of language and faith. Her father invented the universal language Esperanto, and she came from a Jewish family and became a Baha'i. She grew up during World War I and was killed during World War II in a concentration camp, despite heroic efforts to save her life. How can one person's life intersect with so many others, connect across borders, and inspire a biography which inspired this podcast? Over the next few weeks, I will share her story with you and the lives that were most affected by her and those who affected her life as well. They include her father, Ludwig Zemenov, her spiritual mother, American journalist Martha Root, and the Baha'i German soldier Fritz Mako, who worked for the resistance undercover while having to serve the Nazi Party. I want to thank the author Wendy Heller and George Ronald Publishing for their blessing to let me use Heller's biography, Lydia, The Life of Lydia Zemenov, Daughter of Esperanto, as a main and instrumental resource for this podcast. So please subscribe and learn about this amazing woman who traveled through 3 continents in an effort to bring unity through the power of language. You can also find more information on our Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at Who Was She Podcast. Music was composed and performed by Sam Red. I am your host, Tara Jabari. Join us next time as we begin our journey about Lydia Zemenov.
Are you sick of the same old stale podcasts? Well, then join Vanessa and Darren as they dissect movies of all kinds. The 2 lifelong cinema lovers bring their favorites, curiosities, and first-time watches to the operating table and inject them with a healthy dose of snark. Then there's the waiting room, where they examine books and short stories. So just look for them on Apple Podcasts and where fine podcasts are available. They're part of the Legion Podcast Network. Follow them on Twitter at VDClinicPod. Join them on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/VDClinicPod. Or email them at vdclinicpod@gmail.com. They're ready to cure what ails you. And still, they just might be a little contagious.
Hi there. It's Heather from the Watching Netflix Without You podcast. Did you know that there are over 1,200 Netflix original feature films and documentaries? And that number is only growing. So I've made it my mission to watch as many as I possibly can. Then, with a delightful guest or guests, disclaimer, more often than not my brother Ryan, we spend an episode rating, reviewing, and discussing a film at length. The first half of every episode is spoiler-free for those who haven't seen it yet, and in the second half, after a very clear spoiler warning, we dive into it. And that's really about it. You can listen to Watching Netflix Without You on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and more.
We now continue with our program.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show.